Welcome to Ultima Online Arcade. Let's get right to the meat. So we actually want to make combat a little bit less lame. I think the standard practice in MMOs is, unfortunately, in my opinion, auto target, auto attack. So say I wanted to shoot one of these guys with an energy bolt, I would come over here and I would cast my spell, and I probably even have a hotkey to do this for me. But I would shoot the zombie and I would hit him no matter what. Um, and if I wanted to attack him with my bow, I would double click him and then I'd be shooting at him. Ultima Online Arcade has implemented a much different approach to combat, one that really engages you in a very meaningful way, that where your skill, your playing skill, not your character's skill necessarily, though your character's skill gives you an edge, of course, determines the outcome. I essentially have tried several different approaches, and what I've come to decide as far as what I'd like to do, and as for these initial alpha tests, is a Diablo style arcade combat. Now, by Diablo style, what I mean is your left mouse button is your weapon attack. Now you see, first of all, I'll come back to that. My right mouse button is my special attack that I currently have selected, which is an energy bolt. So I just press the left mouse button. If I cast too quickly, then I fumble. But if I cast it under the right speed, then I don't. Now, what happens when you actually shoot an energy bolt? Well, you can see that it travels in a straight line. It only hits something if something actually walks in the way. And energy bolts in UOArcade actually do a pushback, I guess, knockback effect. So, in any case, you can see how different that is from conventional UO. Now you see how where I'm aiming isn't quite right. It seems to be off. Now one of the things that with UOArcade that's important to understand is that I don't have control of this client. This isn't my client. And there's only certain things we can do. Ultimately, most of what freeshards can do in terms of client changes are ultimately hacks. A hack isn't necessarily a bad thing. But in any case, so the approach that I took to implement this, where you're simply pressing buttons instead of using the UO targets, which I know that if you have experience with UO targets, first of all, you can script them, which I don't like that. And the other thing is that you can, you click them and they don't always go through, and I don't know, it's just not an ideal scenario. So how did I make it so that when you're clicking this mouse button, that it's actually shooting an energy bolt every time, kind of like in Diablo? Well, I used a different approach to accepting those mouse events, but because I don't know the screen size and know how to tell the server which direction you're exactly pointing, you have to actually calibrate your screen. So I have now calibrated my screen. The important thing, like it says here, and I'll show you the hotkeys window so you know how to do this, is that I've made the screen as small as possible. You can actually, of course, make the screen bigger, and then if I were to hit calibrate, then it wouldn't be quite right. In any case, you only have to do that once unless you change your screen size in Razer or Ultima Online or UOSteam. And this is how you change your game window size, which you should do. It makes you so you can see more of the world. So now I'm calibrated, and where I point is where I'm actually shooting. It looks a little offset maybe, but that's because of an elevation difference. Wherever I'm pointing, the square I'm pointing at in the same elevation plane as me is where I'm going to shoot. So now I have a accurate mechanism. My character actually has a ton of dexterity, so I can shoot really quickly, and you can see, even though I'm shooting in their direction, unless they actually cross the path of the arrow, it's not going to hit them. So that is a hallmark of Ultima Online Arcade, is that you actually have to aim your attacks. Same goes for heal spells, unless you're healing yourself. If you do heal yourself, you actually are frozen for half a second. The whole concept is that the interaction you have, the combats you'll have will last longer, but it's much less likely to end in a standoff. Even if you have healing capabilities, you're going to be there's a penalty to healing yourself, basically. So, like I said, kind of an arcade setup. So that's kind of the gist. Now, how do I change my spell to cast a different spell, like in Diablo? Well, so what I've done with Ultima Online Arcade is I have this, and this actually, after you've installed it, and I'll show you how to do that. When you start the game, this will pop up. There's a video tutorial link. The movement keys you can actually control in UOArcade, not with your mouse. See how if I normally would press the right mouse button and my character would move, but I'm casting spells, but I use instead WASD, which is kind of a standard movement scheme. So I'm walking around with my keys, right? Now the other thing to know is your action hotkeys and buttons. Now I've set these up all around my WASD keys, mostly in the range of my thumb, so that you could press pretty much all of these keys except for the last ones without moving, without using these 3 fingers. And I think that's a reasonable approach, and I'd love your feedback if you disagree. And what do these hotkeys actually map to? So in the Ultima Online Arcade, if I come over here, there's an important thing: toggle hotkeys active and suspended. That by default, it's like the tick mark up in the upper left corner of the keyboard. If you don't disable them, then you can't really say stuff with the WASD keys, right? In any case, if you type open bracket hotkeys, then what you have here is your hotkey assignments. So these actually correspond really well with this screen. So you could either change it in here, as long as you like the same keys. You could rearrange them over here. But when I press C, it's going to change me to, I enable my hotkeys first. C changes me to teleport. And when I actually teleport, it changes me back. Certain actions like teleport, and I'll kind of go over all of the actions with you real quick with the different classes. Ultima Online Arcade will not have like strict classes. It's kind of like UO generally was, where there's essentially templates, but yet you can divvy your skills between the different templates different ways, so you can be creative and come up with different mixtures. But currently there's 3 basic class skills, and those determine what you have access to. Now if I wanted to change this action, for example the action of my C button from teleport, I would click this. Oh, by the way, if what determines whether or not I attack with my mouse buttons is combat mode. So if I'm in combat mode, it doesn't actually use the regular conventional combat mode. I've actually taken that and used my own approach. So regular combat mode, Alt-C and Tab are not going to do anything for you. But because I have combat mode set to Tab over here, that talks to the server and tells you I'm entering combat mode or not. And when you're not in combat mode, basically the mouse cursor does normal stuff. If you're in combat mode, of course, even if I'm trying to drag stuff, I can't. Now, if I hold down Alt, then I can interact with the world like normal. So clearly, I've really just used the Ultima Online engine here. This is practically a different game in terms of at least combat mechanics. So just be aware that that's how you should approach it. You're a newbie again, which is exciting, I think, for a lot of us who are veterans of Ultima Online. In any case, so let's come in here to action hotkey assignments. There's presets, which are really useful. Actually, in the alpha stage, I'm going to have it where if you say the word mage, then it changes your magery to 100. That's what I already had. If you say fighter, changes your tactics to 100, which gives you fighter abilities. And if you say healer, then you get, if you spell it right, then you get healing skills. Now, I'm going to click here. You can see the magery skills, the spells that you get access to, depending on your magery skill. So if you have 20 magery skill, you'd have access to fireball and above. You get other bonuses for having higher magery, higher spell damage and so forth, healer abilities, and likewise in warrior abilities. Shared abilities, you really should be using these. That's why I actually have them by default in these presets in 1 and 2. These are really key to your success because they are your movement enhancing skills. So when you're running around, I'm going to enable hotkeys, of course. When you're running around and running away from somebody, you want to use your sprint ability, which is hotkey number 2. Hotkey number 2 is V. So V, when I press V, I start to get a short speed boost. Okay, there are no mounts in UOArcade, but you have the sprint ability for short speed boosts. The warriors, if I change to fighter, then and I sprint, then I get 10 steps. But my teleport ability as a fighter is not actually, so I press C, which is for the hotkey number 1, is not the same. It's actually a jump attack. The animation is a little bit hacky, as you can see, but actually I think it's kind of cool. But in any case, and it doesn't go as far, it doesn't and you don't regenerate it as quickly as a mage does. You see, when I'm trying to cast this energy bolt spell, it says I need magery. So if I come over here and change to the warrior presets, I'm holding down Alt right now because I'm in combat mode. Now hotkeys 3 through 4 and 5, 6, and 7 are these warrior abilities. Hotkey 7 is Z. It looks like the whirlwind attack. I can't do a whirlwind attack with the bow. I have to use. Oops! I just tried to drag that into my spellbook. It looks like I did. So V now. I'm sorry, Z does an attack basically in all directions. Melee attacks actually are a little bit different than you might imagine. It's not just the square that you're aiming. It's actually 2 squares. If you have a 2-handed weapon, then the 2 squares directly in front of you take full damage, and the 1 square directly to the corners, depending on where you're looking, if I'm looking here, it'd be there and there, take 1/3 damage. So obviously you get a bonus of damage when you aim better, but you still hit even though you might not have aimed perfectly. With one-handed weapons, because you can carry a shield, they generally are they actually do the 1/3 damage at the 2 range as well. So your 100% damage is in the square directly where you're aiming, right? And that little mark, of course, tells you the direction you're aiming, though you should know with your cursor already. So you have a crushing blow, which is hotkey number 3, which is B. So you prepare to deliver a crushing blow. It looks like I missed, so I missed my opportunity. For knockback attack, if I hit somebody with that, which I didn't, excuse me, then they will actually be knocked back a square. Trip is 5. G will do a trip attack, which doesn't, if you hit, then it basically is like a little mini paralyze. If you hit a human, then it'll fall on his face for a moment. It's kind of a fun attack. And then 6 is hamstring, which basically resets the sprint timer for the person that you hit, so that it's a movement modifying attack, so you're able to keep up with them better. So that's the fighter. I'm going to say mage. Oh, all right. I'm going to switch to the mage presets. All right. Turn on the hotkeys. Now the mage has fireball. So these are the spells that I've already done in the presets, are the ones that you probably would, at least at this stage in the development, have if you were a pure mage. So fireball is kind of your main attack spell. It does the most damage, but is a little bit slower to cast than magic arrow. But if you are aiming better, then you probably will do a number of damage at a time by using it. Poison, of course, is I think F is the hotkey for number 4. So poison now has kind of a green fireball looking effect. If you cast too quickly, of course, you fumble, and that actually accumulates a delay. So you have to be timing correctly, otherwise you're penalized. It accumulates to like a maximum of 2 seconds, I think. So energy bolt I already showed you. Explosion, which is hotkey number 6. Hotkey number 6 is X. An explosion is kind of a special deal, where you send a little explosive ball on the ground. You see it has its own cooldown, unlike other spells that you can cast usually pretty quickly. Explosion creates or because of its capability is kind of a blocking mechanism. So if someone's running away from you and you want to stop them, you would cast an explosion spell in front of them. You see how when I click the hotkey X, it pops an explosion here, but it reverts back to whatever I had last. That's because explosion, like I said, has its own cooldown, so you don't want it to stay on explosion generally. I can't imagine you would. The other one a mage has to block people is a wall of stone. So you can aim with the wall of stone using the right mouse button. So there's an explosion. Let's see, there's of course clumsy, I think shift F was hotkey 11. Clumsy would be shift C. That's actually quite useful in slowing people's attack speed down. Fighters get a much higher attack speed, and they get some bonus hit points and other things. Those who have, the more tactics skill you have, the more bonus you have in that regard. Weakness. Lightning bolt's kind of interesting. It puts a shadow on the ground, and if there's something standing on that shadow when it, I guess, goes off, then it actually does a lightning bolt and does a significant amount of damage. It's kind of like the sniper's move. It would be maybe a good starting move if someone wasn't expecting it. There's curse, feeble mind. So those are the main things. These are actually skills. Hide is implemented, I think, number 2. Hide, I don't know if, well, in any case, the way that hide will work, if it's working, is that, well, I'll describe that in another tutorial, but it's, I think, really a neat approach to hiding that I don't know if anyone's actually tried. In any case, so that's the fighter. I'm sorry, that's the mage. Hotkeys. Could turn my hotkeys off first. Healer. So the healer now has, of course, heal abilities. The healer really is the only one. If you have healing skill, that's the only way you can really heal in combat. The way that I'm going to implement it. Combat or out of combat, you can bandage, but you have to stay still and not be hit in order to apply the bandage. So everyone's going to have the ability to bandage, so they can recover, between dungeon raids or fights and things. But during combat, only a healer is going to be able to heal. Now, only someone with healing skill is going to be. Yeah, you get the gist. So in any case, when I press C, I'm sorry. Turn my hotkeys on. C is still hotkey 1, I'm sorry. B is, I haven't said healing, because I don't have healing skill, so I can't use this spell. Say, healer. Now I have 100 healing. So I press B. My selected weapon for my right click is greater heal. You see how I'm moving with my right mouse button? That's because I am in, that's because my hotkeys are disabled. So when you disable your hotkeys, that does the same thing in terms of your mouse controls too, as not being in combat mode. But I press the tick mark, and now my hotkeys are re-enabled. I'm running with my WASD, and I'm using my heal spell. Heal spells travel a bit slower than attacking spells, and if you cast it on yourself, note that using my mechanism of targeting, if I click on my head, for example, it's actually the square above me, so you actually target the ground, and that's the only way to target yourself, is the ground underneath your feet. So that's going to be real important. Also note, I'm trying to run. Casting heal on yourself actually freezes yourself for a brief moment. So, but casting heal towards others does not. Something important to be aware of. The idea, of course, being, like I explained, this it's kind of this arcade experience. I don't want it to be conventional UO where people can heal themselves forever and never die, basically. Other skills they have, their blocking mechanisms, like the warrior has hamstring and trip. The mage has, and I'm actually planning to implement some throwing abilities for warrior. The mage has flame strike. I'm sorry, explosion and wall of stone. The healer, on the other hand, has paralyze. Hotkey number 4 is F. So I could be running and press F with my thumb, and that's my paralyze spell. So again, paralyze is kind of like wall of stone in that you can't cast it forever, or you can't cast it repeatedly. You won't be ready to cast the spell again if you do. So flame strike and paralyze are both kind of like that. Flame strike, the way that flame strike works is it's a blocker where if you try to run into it, it will stop you, and it will do damage to you, but it's only a blocker after enough time has elapsed. So if I cast it right in front of someone or on somebody, it won't hit them. But if you cast it in front of them enough and lead them and they run into it, then it's a really good blocking mechanism. So that combined with paralyze is how you try to stop somebody from running away, which is a serious problem in regular Ultima Online. I think the marathons everyone gets tired of. So that's the gist of the hotkeys setup in Ultima Online Arcade. You can change these to whatever and apply new settings if you're interested. I think that they're by default really quite fairly intelligent. Control F12 is to calibrate your mouse. If I was on the other screen, this would have popped up right in the center to explain these things that you should read and understand. You only have to do it once, so don't worry about it too much. Open this menu, so if you were to close this menu but you wanted it again, press Alt-O and it would do it. You could do it with this other menu as well. Then of course Alt-O usually opens the regular UO options. Error, I need to fix that. Ignore numlock. Really doesn't do a whole lot, I guess, unless you're using numpad. So you have to apply to actually change your settings. And I think those are the main points. The other kind of really amazing thing I think with UOArcade is that you have the Ultima Live map streamer, and I've actually borrowed some of so Ultima Live is an amazing system that allows the server to update the client as far as what's going on in the map. So I'm going to go to the map Atria, which is the Rail Pores map, and here I have some already explored because I've been here before, but territory, I'm going to do a little speed boost and run, in Atria that I haven't visited before, and as I go there it turns or it becomes visible. Now as a client, the map is static to me in that it's saved as it is, but with this map streamer I could come back to these places I visited before and it could be suddenly different. There could be a hole in the ground or trees or whatever. So it's really quite remarkable. On top of that, I've built in these Minecraft pickaxes, or land mover and construction tool. So with this equipped, if I were to do attack with these, I'm actually knocking the tiles down. Now you notice when I keep trying to dig the same spot, I get these arrows. It actually explains what's going on here, but basically the pointers point to the land tiles beside the one I'm trying to dig, indicating that you actually have to dig those down before you can continue to dig that same spot. This one says I need to dig all 4 directions, and now I can dig that spot again. So it's kind of a little puzzle in that you can't just keep digging the same spot, kind of like in real life the dirt would come and fill it in. So you have to kind of dig in a logical fashion and slowly make your way to deeper and deeper depths. You can double click this tool and then you are now in building mode, and now have as many tiles as I've dug down, I can now build the land up. So that's quite remarkable. And with the open alpha test, which I plan to do with UOArcade, and hopefully within the next month or two, I plan to add the capability of adding statics, which are like building tiles, so you can build barriers and things, and buildings and whatever you can imagine, kind of Minecraft-like. So I guess it's a little mashup between Ultima Online and Minecraft and Diablo, and because there's going to be lots of zombies on DayZ, so it's going to be quite an experience. Anyway, if you have any questions, please contact me. I hope this is clear. How do you install it? Well, so installing this system is it's actually really straightforward. So first of all, go to the right location. So here is the address that I'm going to provide in the link. So you see here there's a zip file. It has 4 files in it. All you have to do is download the zip file. Now I'm going to assume that you already have the Ultima Online client. You have to have at least 7.0.15. I wouldn't try to use anything. I wouldn't try to use the Second Age client. You can have both on there. In fact, if you download and install the newer version from the EA's servers, then you actually will not override the one from the installer at UOSecondage. I love UOSecondage; it's a great server. But anyway, the Ultima Online Forever server that I used to work with, they have the 7.0.15. So if you have that one, that works fine. So basically, all you got to do is go to Program Files, wherever your server or your client is stored. Usually, the default location is Electronic Arts. I have a bunch of servers in here, or clients. All you do is copy these and paste them in there. Now it's gonna ask me to replace it because I've already done this, and it will ask you for permission because anything inside of the program files will be if you want to move a file in there, it will make you give permission. It's just the way it is. So you'd replace all those. Of course, it's going to have a problem probably because it's in the middle of using one when I was showing you. So in any case, you just copy those, and then what you got to do is right-click this client swap.bat and run as administrator. If you want to open it with a notepad, you can see what it does. All it does is change the directory to this directory and renames a few files. The way that the map streamer works, and also the hooks into my Diablo style arcade controls, is it renames this igrping _.dll to swap with this one. Very important, if you want to go and play a regular server without the map streamer, you would need to run this again. So very key point that don't forget. You'll feel like, oh, I can't play these other things, but you can. It's really easy. You just come into this place, run as administrator. So you can tell which one is the original because it's a much smaller file, because it doesn't have as much things going on as the one that we've or the map streamer one, and the one that I've worked with as well. So then once igrping without the underscore is the smaller file, and to see the size, of course, you can either right click and see the properties. There it is, 20 kilobytes. Then you're ready to go. You can play the regular other servers. So very important to know. And I think that's all you need to know. If you need to install the newest client, I have a link for that in the video description, as well as for UOSteam or Razor. Either one works. When you run Razor, you really should create, or UOSteam, you really should create a fresh new profile. That's the easiest way and I could show you how to do that. That's the easiest way to not interrupt your, I guess, your other hotkey systems, and you shouldn't have any hotkeys aside from, well, I mean, there are a few that might be helpful. I'm ultimately trying to remove the capability of scripting this stuff by using a different mechanism than what Razor and UOSteam can do, which is pretty awesome in my opinion. But in any case, so you'd create a new profile, name it UOArcade, and it doesn't have any hotkeys set, so you would probably, or you won't have any collisions, I guess, between your current hotkeys and the ones that you're using with Ultima Online Arcade. So yeah, that should be that. Let me know if you have any questions. If anything's unclear, I'd love to clear it up for you. And I hope to see you at our next alpha playtesting. I appreciate your help, and talk to you later. Thanks.